Welcome back, Summoners, to the Garena Premier League Week 2, Day 2, and this is Jay Storm, and casting with me today will be Chris. So, we are going now. We're going into Game 3, and we have seen two pretty close. I wouldn't say close, but pretty entertaining games.
Yeah.
And we actually saw Quadra kill the previous game as well, and eventually Taipei Assassins choked out Insidious Gaming Legends to take the victory for themselves. And now moving on to the third game of the night, we will be having Insidious Gaming Rebirth going up against AHQ Esports Club.
Yeah, and we have already seen HQ Esports Club in action earlier on tonight in game number 1 against Neo Lucian Fu Lewis. They sort of struggled a little bit, and eventually they overcame the first 10-minute advantage that Neo Lucian Fu Lewis had, and then they just closed out the game. And Westar was huge in that game, playing on that fist. So let's see if he's gonna replicate the results, or will we actually see someone else step up to the plate and then hard carrying AHQ through the game, or is Rebirth gonna be able to pull off the upset to, just take down the giants of Group B, who is AHQ Esports
Well,
Club?
I actually have a lot to talk about Rebirth because they were a team that within the promotion tournament, the Legend Circuit, they went on a 13-game winning streak at one point of time. But now they are 0-2 in the GPL so far, and this week they're going up against the top the AHQ and Saga Fantastic 5. They would do anything it would take to prevent themselves from going 0-4. So I will have to say this. I think one of the biggest changes coming is that they changed the mid laner from Dream to Floda. Dream was a player who liked to play lots of Ziggs, lots of Twisted Fate, whereas Floda has got very different champion pool, playing nature such as Syndra, playing Nidalee, lots of Nidalee as well. And what I feel is that the team hasn't really gotten used to its playstyle so far, and haven't really been able to incorporate the strategies into around his champion pool. We saw him play the Syndra in the first game against SOFM with Neo Lucian Fu Lewis, and he wasn't able to contain the roam of the Twisted Fate or able to get the assassination off onto Twisted Fate. Then we saw him play a Nidalee in a very, very weird game when they played against Machi, I believe.
Yes.
And they got just completely decimated their game because they had no idea. It seemed to me like they had no idea what they were doing at all during their pick and ban phase.
Yeah, and the whole thing about joining into the Garena Premier League is essentially it's a promotion for you, because that's why we call it a promotional tournament. When you play in your local scene, which is pretty much the amateur scene, and then joining out to the GPL, where this is the road to Season 4 Worlds, which means that everyone wants a piece of that pie. This is the season where everyone will be playing the hardest to try to get that position into the Season 4 World Championships. It just means that in your play style, you need to be very fast, you need to be very quick to adapt to this sort of situations, and it means that your team chemistry needs to be much stronger than before. So, all the points that you have brought out has been pretty valid, and given the fact that this is some of the players, the first time that they are playing in the regional scene as well, it just means that they might take a little while to adapt to it, and with all this time, all the other teams, the returning teams of the Garena Premier League, are sure to exploit that and to just climb ahead in the ladder positions.
So what I'm hoping to see, especially now that we're on picks and ban, is that Insidious Gaming, they at least put their game together to solve their pick and ban phase problem. The previous game, they went for extremely weird picks, going for a Nidalee and a Twitch. These two champions don't really go well together because Nidalee wants to siege a lot, and Twitch has got such a short range, and Twitch is a champion that prefers to team fight a lot as well. And they also went for Evelyn as well as a Nami, so the team composition didn't really make sense. So I hope that they've at least fixed those problems and have a more solid pick and ban phase like what we saw in Insidious Gaming Legends. At least they might go for more off-beat meta champions, but at least I hope that they go for champions that synergize with each other.
Right on your screen. Before that, ladies and gentlemen, was Insidious Gaming Rebirth. Y4, of course, not a stranger to our loyal fans, our long-time fans of the Garena Premier League, would have seen him play on the roster of Singapore Sentinels and definitely have his fair share of experience in the regional tournament. Took a short break after that and now finally returning to the Garena Premier League. So, very interesting bans coming out on the side of Rebirth, taking out Twisted Fate, Cassidon, as well as LeBlanc. Trying to ban out Westar, but just leaving Lulu up again, which means that Pride will be able to play that. I'm pretty sure that Westar has had his fair share playing Lulu as well. So leaving one of this powerhouse pick up just means that AHQ Esports Club have a lot of freedom to play with.
So now that they have the Lulu locked in for themselves in Insidious Gaming, they can either go for a jungler or top laner in this situation, and they will be hovering over the Shyvana in this case. I actually think that if they go for Lee Sin in this situation, it will also be a very strong pick. Lee Sin is available in the champion pool as well. Lee Sin, Evelyn, as well as Elise, and then it looks like they will be going for the Shyvana as well as the Braum. I like this pick and ban phase so far. They've gone for two of the strongest champions in the current meta game.
So in the entirety of week 1, we did not manage to see Braum because of the fact that some of the games were played on the 4.8 patch. But right now, in this week's matches, we are all patched up, and everyone is on the 4.9 patch, patched up and ready to go. In day number 1, we had not seen any Braum at all because all the teams were just banning it out. This time, he just gets released from the floodgates, and we do see, Braum just being played over and over again now, given the fact that we had seen that in the last game with a very good success with Jay playing that. And now, Insidious Gaming Rebirth trying to rub off some of their mustache success, and now it's going to be, they are going to be the ones to control that Braum for themselves, and let's see if they are going to be able to use that passive from Braum to actually lock up multiple members from AHQ Esports and stop them in the frags, use the Winter's Bite as well, and then eventually pull off the huge upset, which will actually get their momentum rolling.
So it looks like AHQ will be going for the Lee Sin on their side. Evelyn will have been a very strong pick here as that synergizes very well with the Lulu, but nonetheless Ness will be picking up the Lee Sin to use that high impact jungler to find the plays that he needs to make against the Insidious Gaming Rebirth team. And Lucian will be the second pick, one of the best AD carries in the current meta game. Insidious Gaming, let's see how they respond to this.
Yeah, Valkyrie could go with something like one of his personal favorites, but instead he will lock in the Caitlyn instead. I was kind of expecting him to go with something like a Jinx, which he had played, I believe it was 9 times or 10 times in the grand total in the promotional tournament.
Literally here is definitely an option for Insidious Gaming Rebirth.
Exactly.
They have, it looks like they will be going for an Orianna in this situation. Looks like they aren't really that comfortable playing the Nidalee in this case because they already have a strong split pushing option in the form of Shyvana on the top lane. They have the Braum to be able to help the important pieces of the poke composition zone out from their opponents, such as Caitlyn, and if they go for a Nidalee here, it would make a lot of sense. And AHQ on the side, they have a Lulu, which might be going to either the top lane or the mid lane, and they don't really have a lot of ways to engage into Insidious Gaming Rebirth so far.
Are we actually going to see the Zerath come into play? But I don't think that's going to be the case. As AHQ Esports Club, this is essentially the composition that we saw from game number 1. They have only switched up the jungler and their AD carry as well, I believe. Yeah, so previously we did see the Fizz, we did see the Lulu, and we did see green tea on Fresh again. So right now, let's see what's going to be Rebirth's answer to that. And they have locked in the Pantheon as well, which the Saigon teams have been continuously picking up because they are quite comfortable with still using that Spartan in the jungle to create picks with that global pressure. But most of the other teams have sort of moved away from that Pantheon in the jungle and instead going for flavor of the month junglers. A lot of it revolves around Lee Sin, a lot of it revolves around Elise, but then we had that oddball jungler matchup in the last match as well, so not too bad, I guess.
Pantheon might also be making an appearance in the mid lane over here, depending what Vera decides to lock in for his team. But it looks like it will be a Pantheon in the jungle, as they will be locking the Nidalee in for the team. So Insidious Gaming, once again, I feel that they don't really have a very solid plan coming to this because they pick a Caitlyn, and then after they went for Orianna, Shyvana, as well as Pantheon. These three champions synergize well with each other, but they have a very kind of disconnect between the mid-game power spike because the mid-game is not really where Caitlyn excels at, and the nature of this team is that the entire front line of Insidious Gaming will be in the face of HQ, which means that there will be very few people to be able to peel away, say Westdoor or Ness, should they decide to go for Valkyrie.
Yeah, that's right. And the other glaring situation as well is that AHQ Esports Club has once again been able to secure multiple comfortable champions, and I think that is more important than anything else as compared to Flavor of the Month. We have sort of discussed this in, I think, the previous split as well. When you have the Flavor of the Month going up against like your own personal pocket picks, which one is going to be more effective? And we have seen in multiple situations where champions that you are more apt with, or the champions that you have more practice on, you will generally tend to do better. That's why, even for Westdoor, he's playing Fizz. A lot of mid laners have been straining away from it, but he was just, all over the map of Neo Lucian Full Lewis in game number 1 of tonight, and I think he's trying to replicate that result again in this match against Rebirth.
Well, just to add a little bit more on the conversation about Pocket Picks versus Flavor of the Month. Flavor of the Month, they're usually there simply because they play a very specific role in these team compositions.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to say about Pocket Picks is that you don't just play Pocket Picks because you feel that this champion is good or that you are confident at this champion. You must think about how do these Pocket Picks help your team's synergy as well. And in this situation, once again, AHQ, they're going for a pick composition, and Fizz is a very good champion when you play together with a pick composition.
Yeah, exactly that. And I was talking about AHQ Esports, their main team, and their sister team as well, because when we were looking at the newcomers, AHQ Fighters were known to be the team to really find fights whenever possible, and they pretty much specialize in using pick compositions. And I commented on the fact that it was like the old AHQ playstyle. And going with these compositions again, it kind of tells me that AHQ are going back to their old style of going with pick compositions, now with the Lee Sin locked in with as well, and of course having Weston playing Fizz again, and Green Tea gonna be making plays again on Fresh. So they're just going back to their roots, whereas Rebirth now having like you were mentioning, a slight disconnection when it comes to the mid-game spike over here. Yes, there's gonna be a lot of synergy with Shyvana and Oriana as well, with the ball delivery system, and even for Wei Jie as well, when he jumps into the fray, you can attach the ball to him to make the shockwave happen and make the big wombo combos, but I'm not too sure if that's going to synergize. And here comes Westor, actually, he's going to get spotted out, but actually that gives the positioning away, and now Green Tea getting slowed down by the Winter Spike. I'm not too sure if Rebirth is actually going to make this invade happen, so they will assert some ward dominance down, but it just gives away so much information away to HQ Esports Club, so they will be able to respond to that.
Actually, Floda actually revealed himself to West on the situation. I think his finger was a little bit too itchy and ended up misclicking, walking out the brush for a second, giving West a heads up that there might be the Insidious Gaming team in the brush.
That's right, actually, HQ Nas will be spotted out by the Trinket Ward, but not gonna matter all too much. And actually, we might see a delayed invade here from the side of HQ Esports. There's no vision at all, and this is going to be once again a double buff start on the side of HQ Esports Club, and then transiting back to their own blue buff. This is something that we have seen from HQ Fighters as well, so denying the jungler of the opposing team from having a double buff start and then having triple buffs on your own end.
And now AHQ, this makes a lot of sense considering that they are playing a big composition. They opt to go for a lane swap into the top lane, so this will open up the opponent's jungle lock the moment they get the outer turret down. And once again, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, 17 minutes. These are the 3 windows of opportunity that they will be looking to exploit their opponent's jungle and find picks deep within the opponent's half. Yeah,
so knowing for the fact that multiple members of Rebirth actually invested their trinket wards down at their own red buff, HQ just knew for a fact that they could make use of that information to go for this triple buff start, which is exactly what happened in this situation. And of course, we did see for a fact as well that they did opt to go for this 2v0. And LI4 actually went ahead to go back to this top lane over here, but I think he's going to get zoned out with that experience for a little bit, as we might actually see that 4v0 come through as well. And actually, we will see Prides now teleport back to the bottom lane, just to get that little bit of lane experience, so not too bad for him, but might see the 3v1 dive over here.
So there's 3 men up in the top lane over here. Ness is already spotted out by the ward, and LY4 has got no choice but to back it out there. 2 will be the count of the amount of CS that he has been able to secure for himself. And once again, having Price in the bottom lane, we might see Green Tea go. Actually, Hook lands onto him.
The Death Sentence lands onto LY4. Wei Jie trying to make an impact by jumping onto Gunner Devil. In fact, it was enough to stop the 3v1 dive. But Wei Jie now is now alone up in this top lane. Now he might be in a bit of trouble as he's separated from the turret here, and he flashes out. We might see him go down in the process over here. He is down to about quarter of his health and barely dodging out the death sentence as well. A very close moment for both the top laner and the jungler of ISG Rebirth.
So far, the defense of this top lane has been rather unusual, but he has been rather successful so far, baiting AHQ to overextend under the tower. They have most of the major members go down very low, and as a result, this should slow down the push that will be happening in the top lane. I like this response coming from Insidious Gaming so far, and in the mid lane, Oriana, a very strong lane bully with zoning abilities, is bullying out a melee champion in the form of Fizz being played by Westall.
I once had one of these personalities in the esports scene telling me that if you're playing Oriana going up against Fizz, you should have the early games in the pocket. If you don't have that, then you can actually kiss your mid game goodbye, because you should be able to bully out the Fizz for the most part, at least in the laning phase, and that's exactly what Floda is hanging on to dearly now. So he should be able to hit level 6 slightly faster than West on the entire exchange, and let's see if he's going to be able to make the huge shockwave that accolades in the map to help Rebirth pick up the victory. So far, Rebirth having a slight goalie, a very minute one in that thing, but you know, they will hang on to that as much as possible.
And here's the difference between this game and the previous one. When HQ was going up against Neolithian Fullers, they did not elect to have a lane swap. So it meant that Nas had a lot more free time to stay around the middle lane and help Wester recover from the deficit that he will be facing when going up against a ranged champion. But now, in this situation, when you have a lane swap, Nas will be put a lot to the sidelines, as we see him doing over here. Hook misses of the LI4.
Yeah, very close call in the end. Now Nas actually gets the kick in onto LI4, but I don't think he will be able to follow up on that one. Now Vera on some zoning duties to actually bring Prides away from the minion wave over here. But you know, here's the story again. When you have Prides, whenever he's playing this 2v0 situation, he will somehow be able to pick up bits and scraps of farm from around the map. And right now he's having a slight lead over LY4, as what happened in game number 1 as well. And usually when that happens, they will be sure to exploit that in either the first Dragon fight or even in the first team fight as well.
And now this is the reason why a lot of teams have been picking up Lulu very early on as the top laner, because she is a range champion. We are now with these very weird lane swap scenarios. Most of the melee top laners are unable to get any farm at all, but with Lulu's skill set, her slows as well as the shield, she's able to survive a lot of situations and is able to farm out even when being faced with a 1v2.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, the thing about having Caitlyn and Braum down the bomb lane, they have a sort of a very weird synergy, if you ask me, because you know, for the most part, Caitlyn should be able to stay relatively safe just because of the nature of her range. And then now you have this Braum who just contributes as this wall as well. But you know, there isn't a lot of imminent threat to try to assassinate Caitlyn. So I'm interested to see how that
round 3 on the top lane.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the interaction is going to work out. But right now, the dive onto LI4 again, we might see him just go down. He is down to about 4 of his HP. The flame comes through, and Gunner Devil think he's going to be the one to pick up the kill, but instead it's going to be Ness who does so. First blood now goes to AHQ Esports, as now the death sentence lands down onto Waiter. We might see him go down over here, but is Gunner Devil going to go down? Yes, he does. Oh my goodness, it's the double kill, and Ness has to back up as well. A perfect bait comes through for Waiter. In the end, it's a 2-for-1 exchange, and man, how did that turnaround come through?
Waiter definitely being the hero of this top lane, having 2 successful defenses, and that's the third one in the top lane, really sticking around the top lane and using the Aegis to be able to block out a lot of the damage that will be coming in from the AHQ team. And now Westdoor is level 6.
That's right, finally hitting level 6, so we'll have that Chandra Waters to get off the Manatee to make his appearance as well. But I like this response from Waiter. You know, he knew for a fact that he pretty much got that 2 kills for free, so he picked up that Boots of Mobility to try to assist his teammates a lot more, which is something that he desperately needs to keep AHQ in check. If he can roam much faster than Ness or keep up in keep up in speed, then he should be able to make a much stronger impact. Actually, now we do have Vera sneaking around in the mid lane. Might see the gang actually come through here. We might see the double Dragon Slayer gang onto the Slippery Fish, but he's just gonna walk out of there with the Playful Trickster as Vera hops onto Floater as well. So no gangs coming through. Very interesting interactions, you know, multiple hops on both sides of the team.
To the support and jungler matching each other's rotations, visiting the mid lane. This is going to be a recurring trend, but now this is where I feel the AHQ have kind of dropped the ball, because they move into the mid lane. They've elected to go back to secure their own buffs, so this has allowed Pantheon to secure his red buff for himself, and that is the first window of opportunity missed by AHQ to try and set up for a pick in the jungle of their opponents.
Yeah, so right now, as you Rebirth, actually ever since what happened up in the top lane, LI4 has been slowly climbing himself back into the game. Already has the chain vest done up, but let's see if he's going to be able to withstand the punishment as now HQ Esports Club freezing up the wave. I think just waiting for the cannon wave to come out before they make the big push onto the top lane turret. And Formula, once again, you know, establishing control over Westor again. Hasn't got the kill potential onto him, but at least he's keeping him down in terms of CS.
Now AHQ, their early game shenanigans haven't really worked out for them. The elected 4 lanes up, the turret is still not down yet, and LI4, he's at a healthy 31 CS. Although Price is leading by about 12. You usually want to be able to get the first turret down before the 7-minute mark, open up your opponent's red buff, and then going for the invade and a kill. Currently, we are at 9 minutes, and at the moment, the game is still very well under control of Insidious Gaming.
Oh, now LI4 in a bit of trouble. Waitier trying to make his appearance up in the top lane. LI4 has to flash away. Dragon's descent away from Ness. And the kill, if that had connected, that would definitely have been a kill. And Waitier jumping onto Ness to lock him up under the turret as well. And actually down the bottom lane, we saw you know, the combination of Valkyrie and Vera taking down the bottom lane, finally opening up the maps for themselves. The first global objective to go down. In fact, Rebirth took that one out. Now they are up by about 800 gold, and Vera still sticking around, doesn't have the ultimate. And here we go, the Winter's Bite might get the stun locked down to Price. He gonna escape. Yes, he does have the wall growth, trying to run the hell away, as now he has to blow the flash to run away from that fight. And Vera doesn't have that level 6 yet. That was a very crucial timing. If he had that ultimate up, I was pretty sure that he could still you know, slow and lock Price down.
Well, Price actually getting himself out of a sticky situation in Insidious Gaming. They have one turret and a 1k goal lead for themselves so far. A Valkyrie in the bottom lane, a lot of people have touted him as the best AD carry in the Singapore-Malaysian region. However, his cannon looks a little bit lacking, although he has been doing well so far, 101. His use on the traps could be a little bit better.
Here comes the Chum the Waters on the floater. Might see him get the jump down, and actually, here comes the shockwave, actually pulling Westor closer to him and making the assassination happen. And Waytech getting kicked back by Nest for the disengage.
Ooh, that panic command shockwave down there was definitely a mistake from Foda. He put him into the range, just nice for Westor to get the Urchin strike onto him and pick up the kill for himself. But in Insidious Gaming, they know that the HQ team is a little bit low, and they will be trying to convert that into Dragon. Yeah,
so let's see if HQ will try to respond to that. There is still potential from Ness here. And actually, IGR Rebirth smartly playing that one. And actually, it is going to be Valkyrie could pick up that Dragon for himself. So the AD carry making his appearance to slay down the global objective, as now actually Rebirth has a slight goal advantage. That just goes to show how far HQ has been able to build themselves back up, because even with the Dragon, Rebirth is only up by about 300 gold.
And you can feel LI4 smiling to himself as he picked up the huge wave in the top lane, finally be having access to the farm as Lucian finally decides to back away. But interestingly enough, he will not be electing to freeze the lane into farm up for himself, but he will be actively pushing it out.
And I wonder how we'll be able to see the Dragon smile as well. So let's see if what's the case over here, as now we actually have a huge stack up in the mid lane for both teams here. Ness trying to find the flank around. Valkyrie still, you know, getting the auto attacks in onto the mid lane turret. They should be able to get out on this one. Here comes Chum the Waters, and wait there, getting brought down so low, he will melt down to Ness over here. And now Price joins the fray. Floater melts down to to Price over there, as now 2 members have already gone down from the side of Rebirth, and this should be an easy turret for HQ to pick up.
You know, Chris, can you say deja vu? Because that looked exactly like the same mistake Full was made against this HQ team. Exact same composition, and Insidious Gaming make the same exact mistake that Full was made. They didn't have the wards on the side to be able to spot the flanker from HQ. They're overcommitted to the siege, and as a result, the moment they engage carry for HQ, excellent Charm the Waters coming in from Westor, Insidious Gaming were unable to do anything the moment HQ decided to engage.
Yeah, and usually the beauty of these pick compositions is that you would usually try to pick someone off in the situation that they are alone, but HQ, they just don't care. You know, they'll just start things off with the Chum the Waters, with that target slowed down, and the green team will be able to follow up very effectively using that fresh. So that is why for us casters, there's this revolving joke there. We always say never give green tea fresh, because he will be able to make all these little picks happen.
Well, Insidious Gaming, they have had the momentum in their favor for quite a while now. They were unable to actually get the mid-lane turret. But now with the kills in the favor of HQ as well as the goalie, Insidious Gaming, they have to be a bit more careful. This is where Fulu started to fall apart. The moment HQ started to walk into the jungle, Insidious Gaming were unable Fulu is unable to find the correct response to this. And now Insidious Gaming, how well are they going to be able to play this vision game in their own jungle?
Oh, actually, we do get the smite coming down from Waited to secure his own red buff, even though they knew for a fact that HQ was just looking right around the corner. So at least he gets that little bit of gold back for himself. And now Rebirth still grouping up together, and I think they are trying to force their way down to the mid lane, but they have already seen what happens if they just ignore the members of HQ Esports Club. So I think they have to be a lot more wary than they are before. Now Flora trying to secure his own blue buff, but there is a whole wall of what that's going to spot out the movements for Rebirth over here. So I think they might just have to give this away to HQ over here, and they rightfully take it away.
What I would like to see is Insidious Gaming starting to use Valkyrie and the traps on the Kaden to start to tear them off their own jungle, place those traps within the brushes, and try to use that to catch out or create awkward movement pathing for HQ when they try to move in deep into when HQ were to try to move in deep into Insidious Gaming's jungle, so that there's all these traps all over the place. It makes it very hard to move into these narrow chokes, and Insidious Gaming can use the hesitation on the South HQ upon seeing these traps to try and create picks of their own.
Speaking about hesitation, we actually saw Rebirth in a much better position than HQ. They could have taken down the mid lane turret, but they respect the burst from Westor and the flanking threat from Ness as well, that they decided to back off momentarily from the mid lane. But right now they are stacked up once again in the mid lane, but HQ has already responded to that. They have the members, they have the resources to defend out this mid lane turret. It is down to about, you know, it is down to almost to a minimal amount of HP, but doesn't matter. I think Waitia here still sitting around looking for the jump onto the members of HQ Esports.
And now Insidious Gaming, once again, they're electing to go for this siege in the mid lane. They know Lee Sin and Lucian is in the bottom lane, and the mid lane tower is extremely low, so they should be able to secure this for themselves.
Oh, here comes the man drop onto Prax. He might just be in trouble here, but he will be able to just skitter away with the movement speed boost. And now Westor actually on the back end will be spotted out, but he is a very slippery fish, so he might just be able to get out of there. Might see the pincer maneuver come true as Flora gives chase as well, but instead Rebirth chooses to back off. They don't want any fights to be breaking out just as of yet. Maybe they feel like they don't have the power to fight as of yet, but without Westor going on to Valkyrie there, is he gonna go down? The flash comes through as well, and look at the huge amount of damage that's coming through, and Valkyrie actually still surviving in that one. Ignite's gonna come, not gonna pick him up, as now Westor is gonna be the one to get punished for overdiving, and a great response from the entire team of Rebirth to keep him alive. But there was 5 members up in the top lane just to defend against Westor, so the remaining members for HQ can make something work out of that. That's 2 successive turrets in a row.
I have to say though, that was a very rare miscalculation on Westor's part. The moment he gets into the raid zone, he usually just goes for lethal and instantly bursts down the carry the moment he lands the Charm the Waters. But in this situation, he kind of miscalculated. He got a June strike off. He thought that would be enough with the reduced hitting and damage over time, but he backed off a little bit too early, was unable to get the last strike down to Valkyrie, and as a result, he lost his life, and Valkyrie was able to escape.
Oh, now Price actually, he was able to defend against LY4 and Waitia, and now using the Wild Growth Slow to knock LY4 away, as LY4 is just standing there. I think there's a small difficulty. Otherwise, I don't think he will just be standing around. Let's see what's the situation over here. So right now we actually have a small pause in the game to try to resolve the technical issues over here. So we can talk about the game a little bit more. So what do you make of the game so far?
Well, after the Insidious Gaming Rebirth, there was a very interesting response to the lane swap of HQ, but nonetheless, HQ, they have shown why they were the previous finalists in the previous split, and they have taken a very commanding lead over the game thus far, and obviously Price going on to LY4.
Yeah, and LI4 still does have that vision slowed down onto him. The Glitter Lance as well. Will we see him actually go down to Prides over here? They're trying to turn things around. It's a 2 versus 1 over here. And now Westall finally joins the fray as Prides takes down Waitier with the help of Westall over there. So in the end, Rebirth once again overcommitting to one of the turret's kills. And it was just easy goal time for AHQ to make the picks happen.
So for AHQ, who have been playing such a dominating game, they're finally finding the picks that they were looking for. There was a little bit of mistakes coming from Westall, unable to convert those opportunities into kills for himself. But now we saw one in the top lane, and I think there's much more to come.
Yep, and you know he's going for the needlessly large items again. 1, and 3 doesn't have that big amount of kill counts that we saw in game number 1 just as of yet, but still forming up relatively well and still getting those assist goals in his pocket, which means that he will be able to translate that into hopefully a Zhonya's very, very quickly, and then making a much bigger impact in this game. Okay, here comes the hook. Baron Greedy, he's gonna flay Waitier back as well. And here comes the ultimate from Vera just to disengage away. Very timely one, but that's both the ultimates down from the support. And Chum the Water actually misses onto Valkyrie and Floda. And Rebirth now might get the small window of opportunity to catch on to AHQ Esports.
I have to see the look at the range control of Valkyrie, standing at the maximum range and getting those auto attacks down the Prides. Prides unable to find a response, and thus AHQ is forced to back away from the situation.
Yeah, so far in this game, AHQ has been making some small mistakes here and there, but they are still pretty much, you know, in the driving seat over here as they now have a 3,000 goal lead. As right now, actually, Rebirth trying to make some, you know, matches happen. They are grouping up together as 5, and actually, I'm gonna see a sneaky Baron over here. I don't think that they will be able to do so. They don't have the resources to take it down as quickly as possible, and now they are making the movements up to the top lane. They desperately want to get this top lane turret down, and we might actually see them pay for the mid lane second tier. They are keeping Valkyrie and Vera around to just take it down for themselves. And let's see if AHQ actually chooses to go for it, but no, instead they choose to just cripple away the blue buff from Flo. It hasn't been able to see the blue buff for the entirety of this game, and you know, for an Orianna player, you need to have your blue buff in order to make maximum utility work.
Well, so there was a very intelligent map movement from coming in from Insidious Gaming. They knew that there was this huge wave. They knew that there was this huge wave at bottom lane, and as a result, they knew that AHQ would be sending one member to deal the huge wave and pick up the farm for themselves. So, if they are at bottom lane, where can we be? Top lane, and that's where they went, and they pick up a turret and objective for themselves. But the response from AHQ was very good. They went in, picked up the blue buff for themselves, and got a little bit of damage onto the mid lane tier 2 turret of ISG.
Actually, Naz still sticking around in the jungle of ISG Rebirth, and I thought we were going to see the Monk and Sparta face off against each other. Would love to see that happen, but in the end, it was Naz that smartly backed away, knowing for a fact that he didn't have the vision of where the rest of the team was. And actually, if you look at the map right now, there's a lot of pink wards just littered around, you know, ISG Rebirth in their own jungle. So they're still trying to grab back some of this defensive control at least. So I think that's one of the ways that you can try to come back off this one. But if you, like what I was mentioning earlier, HQ, they don't really necessarily find picks in the jungle. They can still find picks even though it's a team fight situation just by opening up with the Trump the Waters and then slowing one target down.
What I'd like to see from AHQ now is them go for the 3-on-1 split. Actually, they find LY4 in the top lane, forcing him to pop the Dragon's Descent. So what I was saying was that I would like to see AHQ go for the 3-on-1 split push at the moment, have 3 members roam around the map, have Prides in the top lane and Westdoor in the bottom lane. The rest of AHQ, or perhaps Lucian in the bottom lane, would be fine as well. The rest of AHQ stay around the bottom side of the jungle and try and find a pick the moment someone decides to rotate into the area.
Oh wow, Naz actually going ham on that one, actually bringing Waitier down to about half of his HP. And you know, we have been talking a lot about AHQ. I just want to kind of question you about what do you think Rebirth needs to do to come back in this game? Because they have been playing sort of reactively to what AHQ has.
Well, first of all, I feel that Rebirth in this situation, they don't really have the tools that they need to fight.
Oh my goodness! Flora actually gets caught out and that was still alive. But in the end, it's not going to matter too much as well. Now Valkyrie flashing away from Westall, using the heal to keep himself alive. The ace in the cold should come out, and Westall still surviving, but now LI4 trying to get the catch on to Wester, still alive with the Wild Growth. And now LY4 is the one that tries to run away. Flashes from the terrain as well. And Vera using the shield to keep him alive in the meantime. And now LY4 might just get jumped on. And now Valkyrie is the one to pay the price eventually. And Ness still chasing on to LY4. Going for the tank in that one. Vera has to back up as well. So a very extended fight, but it all results to a 3-for-1 exchange.
Oh, LY4 actually surviving from that surprisingly, despite having so many members of HQ club over him. Just look at his items now: Ninja Tabais, Banshee's View, as well as 2/3 of a Randuin's Omen being completed already. That is one very, very tanky dragon. So let's take a look at a replay of that fight. Now this is Flora getting caught out. Instantly he dies, and this is why I say that in Insidious Gaming they don't really have the tools to be able to find HQ, because the moment they try to get or set up anything to have the wombo combo happen, they are going to lose one member to the strong pick composition of AHQ. They have Charm the Waters, they have Lee Sin with the possible insect play, as well as the Trash Hook as well, and Green Tea on the Trash, we all know how that ends. And this is the subsequent follow-up waits. It comes in from the back, and this is just so uncoordinated from the Insidious Gaming Rebirth team. They are unable to get off the massive wombo combo, and Valkyrie is barely shooting at anyone while the rest of the members are tanking up. You definitely do not want this to be happening, because Valkyrie has been completely zoned away from this engagement. LY4 is now the target as the rest of HQ go onto him, and this is just poor decision on the side of Insidious Gaming. They should just cut losses at this point of time and back away from the fight. And now once again, Flora
back
gets caught
in
out.
the live screen, actually see Flora almost getting caught out again. And you know what I feel for the entirety of the game so far is that Rebirth has been putting a lot of focus onto Westor, maybe seeing what he can do in game number 1. And now they're ignoring the rest of the team. That's why we do see fights coming in with the protection of the Wild Girl from the Westor, and of course Garnet Devil making some big impacts, and of course Ness 3-0-2 in this game so far. So yes, you need to sort of dodge around those skill shots and the Chum the Waters from Westor and the dive on potential as well, but you need to respect the raw strength of all the other members. And I think that's the entire reason why Rebirth has been unable to come back in this engages, even though it might be HQ caught out in the most, not the most favorable positions, like under the turret or with under half health or something like that.
Good work from our observer over there, letting us know how much vision Insidious Gaming has vision over HQ at the moment. And this is where it's going to be very dangerous. 35 minutes in the game, they might find the pick over here. Oh!
LY4 just gets hooked in on that one, but that's a great zone created by Vera over here. And the Dragon's Descent comes through as well. Weston now in the back and Chop the Water hits 3 members. Garnet Level now gets the kill on the way here. Double kill from the Culling as well. And now we might see the chase come through. Ness trying to find the kick onto Flora. Yes, he does. He gets the execute down. That's 3 members now down on the side of Rebirth. And this might just be barren for HQ Esports.
With no jungler available for them, Insidious Gaming Rebirth will be very hard pressed to deal with this Baron attempt. We say they will have no choice but to give this Baron over to HQ and let them extend the goal leader even further.
Yeah, man, you know, we just saw in the fight over there, HQ making full use of the fact that they were unable to, Rebirth was unable to get vision control over that one brush, and they just camped it out, and you know, great Chump the Waters from Westor as well. That one knocked out multiple members on the side of Rebirth, and it was goal time. Garnet Devil with the cleanup, and of course Ness with the pinpoint accurate, you know, Sonic Wave resonating strike to pick up the kill. And now having the Baron buff up the sleeves as well, things are looking extremely grim for ISU Rebirth.
Definitely indeed, but they have to wait for Valkyrie to be able to scale up, because that is the only option in the late game at the moment. Although LY4 is a very tanky Shyvana, and that will continue to scale as the game progresses. AHQ, they have been struggling a little to be able to burn down LY4. He's already survived 2 major team fights as we have seen. So LY4 as well as Valkyrie are 2 scaling options that Insidious Gaming Rebirth have to try and get back into the game.
So right now there are 2 outer turrets remaining on the side of ISU Rebirth, which means that they can still make a good team fight and then come back off of that. But so far, the big story has been they've always found the fights that they can possibly take, but might be some sort of chemistry, you know, miscalculation or something like that, and you know, they just cannot take the team fight away from AHQ Esports. And of course, we have to give props to AHQ Esports for you know, using that chemistry and that whole experience up their sleeves to take all these little team fights for themselves, and that's exactly what's putting them forward in this game.
Well, this was a David against Goliath matchup, and Goliath is definitely clobbering all over David in this situation. 10,000 gold lead, as well as the Baron buff on the side of AHQ. That is the last outer turret down in their favor, and now they will be knocking onto the inhibitor turrets.
Yep, so AHQ Esports just looking for the finishing touches. All the outer turrets are now down on the side of ISG Rebirth, and you know, having some of these champions having Lulu up the sleeves, and I think having Garnet Devil with that Lucian as well, with the Light Slinger, they should be able to siege up any of these turrets rather effectively. But they still have to respect the wave clear from Florida though, so see if they can make the defense happen. There is that Baron buff on AHQ Esports, so if they choose to go in for the hard engage, then you know, might be the final team fight for ISG Rebirth. They have to be very careful on how they play this one out.
I believe in this situation, Valkyrie will be prime target for AHQ to find with one of their catch abilities, but nonetheless, getting down the CC onto Florida always here will be decent as well.
Yep, so now there's a 1-3-1 situation that's in the face of ISG Rebirth now. They have to thin their defenses and to, you know, send members to try to respond to either Pride or Westlaw, but you know, what this means is that eventually they will have to give up one of these lanes here.
And now we actually see them splitting 1, 3, and 1. And here's the response from Insidious Gaming. Actually, they send Shyvana up in the top lane to deal with the Lulu LA4. He has got a decent amount of magic resist, so that should help him deal out with the trap on Lulu. And Lulu as a champion, she provides a lot of utility and not a lot of kill threat, so they can actually send a lot of champions up in the top lane to deal with that. And they actually send 3 people to deal with Westlaw, because that is the champion with lots of kill potential. Drop on combo, and this one champion dead straight away. So they need more members in order to deal with Westlaw.
And I love this decision coming in. Oh, hold on, we might see Westlaw getting caught out, but instead he would just use the playful trickster to jump out of danger. So I was saying that I kind of like what HQ is doing now. Usually they have been criticized for kind of making you know, late game hesitations, but they knew exactly what they needed, and which was the 1-3-1. We saw Nash jumping in there, and now Wei Jie gets caught out by the death sentence. The ultimate comes through for Vera, but that's not going to stop the aggression, as now it is the jungler going down the side of ISG Rebirth, and the flash hook lands onto Florida. Garnet Devil gets the kill onto Florida in the entire exchange. Now it's a 5v3. We might see AHQ Esports Club just trying to pick up the win over here, as now they have all the resources to do so. A couple of shields popped out, and this is the first Nexus turret that's going to get focused down right now. LY4 doing his best to try to defend, and look at the burst damage onto Valkyrie. Does not go down due to the Fountain regen, but you know, that's just the damage threat from AHQ that Rebirth cannot deal with. The second Nexus turret is going to come through as well, and here comes the Grand Sky for HQ. Is actually on the retreat now, as they respect the raw strength. And actually Wei Jie once again gets caught out with the death sentence. The kickback onto Valkyrie, going down in the process. Now Vera going down as well. The double kill goes on to Westlaw, as HQ Esports Club close off the third game of tonight to go on a 2-0 of this week.
Desperate and disastrous would be the 2 words I would use to describe the last team fight coming in from Insidious Gaming Rebirth. They were down only to the Nexus, no turrets left, and they knew they had to pull up a defense. They went with the Grand Skyfall, completely missed, and the rest of the team was in panic mode. And given the goalie that AHQ had, it was only a matter of formalities before they ended the game.
Right, and AHQ Esports Club once again just replicating the result that they have from earlier tonight. And you know, it is something that we have sort of expected. Like you even coined it yourself. It was the David versus Goliath fight, and Rebirth looked like they had a game plan going into this